What's up, everyone? Welcome into the Cannonballs podcast. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Dane Cannon, co-host, and with me today is
your boy, Jake Mother Effing Bowles on the mic 1, 2.
And guys, we got a good episode for you today. We are going to be covering the NFC East. We have gone division by division. We have covered the NFL 2023 draft. So basically, we are going to be covering every draft pick that happens. Dude, I can't even focus right now with you. God damn it.
Sorry about that, folks.
So yes, guys, we're going to be going player by player, kind of giving our thoughts and opinions on each draft pick that happened. Most recently, we've already covered the AFC North, NFC North, the AFC East, and now we're going to be covering the NFC East. So if you guys are a fan of the NFC East, this video is for you. But guys, just keep in mind, our opinions, draft grades, they don't mean shit. It's all subjective. You know, we can give our opinion, but it's all projection. So this is just mine and Jake's projection of where these players will end up, you know, panning out in the NFL. But before we get into that, there is a little bit of news and notes from around the league that we want to cover. Some kind of rule changes, a little bit of contract negotiations with a certain player for the Chargers. Jake, do you have anything to add before we get going?
No, I'm just ready to get into it. I'm ready to get into this episode.
Okay, let's do it. Oh, guys, really quick, like, comment, subscribe, follow us on our Instagram at Cannonballs with a Z_podcast. You know the drill.
Yes, sir. All right, so there are a couple news notes that we need to discuss, a couple rule changes. So one of the biggest ones, well, there are some small ones, but the two biggest ones, they are allowing teams to carry 3 quarterbacks without that third quarterback
taking a roster spot, basically.
Yeah, taking a roster spot. So it's like in baseball where you have you pretty much have a team of pitchers and they don't go against your starting lineup or whatever. So, if you guys watched the NFC Championship last year, the 49ers were without a quarterback. So pretty much the league doesn't want that happen again, especially on a, primetime game or a game with huge implications. And they changed the rule immediately. It's now called the Brock Purdy rule.
Is it actually called the Brock Purdy rule?
Well, I don't know if it's called that, but I've seen some things around the internet calling it the Brock Purdy rule.
Got you.
Because of him, it got changed. Well, I guess you could call it the Hassan Riddick rule too.
True.
But my opinion, I'll go first. I love it. I think it's great for all teams. I think my father-in-law was actually, he told me about this, and I kind of like this idea a lot. I think this moves us closer to kind of making quarterbacks have their own salary, kind of like in baseball where you have pitchers that don't go against the cap. And the biggest contracts on the team are the quarterbacks. And I think this could be huge for the NFL, honestly. Like, I like it. I love it. I think it's a step in the right direction, and I think it could, I think we might be moving closer to that. I don't know. What do you think?
I love this rule change, especially as a Chargers fan, because under the Tom Telesco era, we've always basically rostered 3 quarterbacks, and it takes away a roster spot from a position of need or a position of value, like defensive end, tight end, excuse me. I mean, we do like tight ends, but defensive end, edge rushers, defensive linemen, safety, wide receiver, anything like that. That extra roster spot can be utilized towards like a positional value, like value at a certain position that's more necessary. Because I mean, say, for example, when Mike Williams gets injured last year for the Chargers community, we have Michael Bandy out there, and then we have, Josh Palmer, we have Keenan Allen, but it's just like when some of your top players get injured and you can't have a roster spot for like a decent depth piece because you're already rostering a third quarterback for whatever the reason, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. So having this new rule implemented into the NFL, I think helps teams all across the board. I don't think that there's any negative repercussions to this. I really like this rule change. I think every team should be excited about this.
I also think this makes teams really not work more concerned for their backup and their third string quarterbacks. I think they, sometimes maybe they just sign guys just because they're there. Maybe they, take into account what they actually can bring to the table. And also, this is going to be a lot of strategy with, the what's the day of the 53 man roster? Is it 53 men?
53.
Yeah, so this is going to be a lot of strategy with, the 53 man roster. Like, are you going to have an extra linebacker? Are you going to have an extra wide receiver, like you said? So, I think it's going to be interesting. What do you think of what I said about the whole salary cap for quarterbacks? Like, do you like that idea?
Can you go into more detail? Like, I don't fully understand or comprehend what you mean by going against the cap.
So say the Chargers have a cap of $20 million.
Yeah.
20 million. Half of that is going, when Justin Herbert gets paid, half of that's going to Justin Herbert.
Okay.
You have 10 million for the rest of the signings and free agents and draft. But instead of that 20 million going for the entire Chargers team, you have a set cap for quarterbacks only. And then you have,
so it's like it's a different salary in addition to the cap. So they have their own. Okay, I understand what you're saying now. Yeah. I like that. As long as they can get the money for that, if that's what teams are going to be doing, then I think that that's a step in the right direction. Because if it doesn't go against the cap and you're able to sign bigger free agents, then all the power to it. If you're a third string quarterback and then they implement a rule where all third string quarterbacks get like a set amount of money, fuck it, why not? I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. Cool. All right. And the second rule brings a little bit of controversy to our beloved game. So many things have been done in our lifetime, Dane.
Yep.
The game has completely changed. And I'm not trying to be like dramatic. The game has completely changed. And this next rule we're going to talk about, changes the game even more. So pretty much the NFL is doing a trial run this year, which, I'm happier that it's just a trial, but it's still going to be annoying that it's going to be for this whole season. Maybe they'll do an in-season rule change. I don't know if that's ever been done, but the rule is on kickoffs and punts and safety kicks, wherever the ball is kicked, and it doesn't have to be in the end zone. It could be on the 8-yard line, the 10-yard line. It can be in the end zone. And if the return man fair catches it, it automatically gets put at the 25-yard line. So if you guys watch college football, it's exactly the same. This is where this is exactly how college football plays. I don't really love this rule. It kind of defeats the purpose of a return man. You can literally put a lineman back there because, some linemen have very soft hands and, it's like, what's the point? It's like getting rid of, one of the most exciting plays in the game. And then it's also getting rid of kickers with big legs. So I don't like this rule. Let me hear your opinion, Dane.
I mean, I hate it in the terms of, it takes away the skill that is required for kickers on kickoffs. Like if a kicker is able to place it on like the 5-yard line, it had to be that they would run it out, which could cause a fumble, which could cause a turnover, which could give the kicking team good, like position on the field, or it could pin back an offense, and then give the defense a bigger advantage. So I hate that. The only thing that I'm confused about, say, for example, if on punt, because that's like one of the areas that it's addressing, is if a punter kicks the ball and then the return man, say like the punter is on his own 5 and he places the punt on the on the receiving team's 45-yard line and he fair catches it on the 45. Does that mean that they also go backwards 20 yards to the 25, or do they keep it at the 45?
No, it's only kickoffs.
Oh, it's only kickoffs. I thought that you said safety kicks as well.
well, safe. That's what I read. Safety kicks, because usually they get pinned back pretty far on safety kicks. Um, but it's a punt, isn't it?
Yeah, so
Do they
that's what
punt
I'm
it?
saying is like
I thought I read.
you do
I
like a
thought I read
drop kick.
safety.
So
I'm
like
just reading.
if it is a safety, obviously you're like kicking it off, and then you're not going to kick it as far because you don't have as much leg power behind it. You're not able to, build up your momentum. So you don't kick it as far. So the receiving team is usually going to return it above the 25 or further than the 25-yard line. So if you receive it before or like above the 25-yard line, do you go backwards
Um.
to the 25-yard line if you fair catch it?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm not saying anything about punts. It's probably just kickoffs, because that really wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah,
Um.
because like if you receive it and fair catch it above the 25-yard line, it doesn't make sense that they would move you backwards. Like that doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense.
Yeah. Um. But yeah, I mean, do you? I forget. I'm sorry.
I hate it. I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate it because I mean it takes away a lot of the skill or a lot of the strategy that is implemented with kickoffs. If you can pin back an offense on their own like 5-10 yard line, it's just trying to. I think that they're trying to implement a new regime where it's just high scoring offense. That's what's been happening. They're taking away a lot of the things that defensive players are able to do, with big hits and everything. I know that a lot of it's for player safety, but it's also taking away a lot of the game. It's kind of moving towards wanting to see more scoring offense. I don't know if it seems more of like a business decision where maybe they're trying to attract more people because more teams are going to be scoring. But I don't like that because, I mean, there's a lot of strategy that is involved when it comes to special teams. And you're getting Pat. I want to hear Pat McAfee's opinions on this because I'm sure that he's got a lot to say on this.
I heard something. It was pretty interesting. It's like you might as well just squib the ball every time. If you guys are listening and you don't know what that is, that's where you kind of like onside kick it, but harder. Yeah, it's just I honestly I get that they're trying to make it safer or whatever, but it's like how much safety?
How many more rule changes can you make before it's unwatchable?
Before it turns into flag football? Because if it turns into flag football, then honestly, like I will not watch anymore. I like football for the hits, for
physicality, the aggressiveness,
the physicality. It's like fighting, man. Like if you're points. Okay, so if you don't know anything about martial arts, there's like karate that's just point sparring, and then there's like actual fighting where you're just bludgeoning people. If you're just point sparring, boom, tap, it's not much. It's a completely different sport. So I think they could have done something different. I mean, they've already moved the kickoff closer, correct? Like they moved them 5 yards closer to get it into the end zone pretty much every time, right? That was like a couple years ago. So I don't know. I don't know what else they can do. Like, and it just sucks because now we'll never see another, Devin Hester.
Yep. That's exactly what I was
Patterson, about. Josh Cribbs, and nothing like that.
That's another thing that like had me thinking about. It kind of defeats the purpose of the Chargers draft pick in the 4th round, Darius Davis. I mean, they got him for his return ability. Like he is a 4.3 something yard, 40-yard dash return man. And then it kind of defeats the purpose. So it's like, why?
It's funny because it also defeats the purpose of the 49ers kicker. They drafted the kicker because he has a stronger leg than Robbie Gould. And, part of that, strategy is like, well, Robbie Gould wasn't getting it in the end zone every time, for touchbacks. Now it's like, well, we're already getting touchbacks. So it's stupid. I hope they don't pass it. It is a 1-year trial. I get it in college because, you want those kids to go to the pros. And college has always been a little bit different, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
On the flip side of the thing, though, you don't have to fair catch it.
That is true.
Which I'm hoping that a lot of NFL teams realize is like if they start trying to place kicks like above the end zone or before the end zone on say like the 5 or the 10-yard line, I'm hoping that NFL teams like look at this rule and are like, let's gamble on it. Let's try and run it out and try and get past the 25 because you're already 10 yards there. So why not? You only have 15 yards to go. Maybe you can get more than that. So there is the like flip side of the thing, but still, I don't like that they're trying to change more rules with the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That rule I do not like. The QB rule I freaking love. That's a great rule change. It benefits people. But when you're trying to change the fundamentals of the game, I disagree with it a little bit.
Yeah, it's if I don't see an improvement. I mean, I don't really see an improvement in, the safety. Like at this point, you might as well just get rid of kickoffs, right? You might as well. Everyone
the
might as well just
25-yard line
start at the yes. So
as soon as you're done, dude, I feel like that's the direction they're heading. Like eventually, I feel like it's going to get to that point where like you get rid of kickoffs entirely.
Mm-hmm. So
if it keeps heading this direction, I mean, we could be over exaggerating. Maybe it's just because we don't like the rule. But I want to voice my opinion. I do not like this rule one bit.
Yeah, I don't like the rule. I definitely see it going that way. I mean, it's been like that for the last decade. So, but yeah, that was our little rant on some rule changes. Dane, there is another piece of news I think you want to start off.
Just one quick little thing before we get into the NFC East, guys. I promise we'll get there. Austin Eckler did kind of make an arrangement and an agreement with the Chargers organization. He, I think, agreed to $1.7 million or $2 million incentive pay. I don't know exactly what the incentives are, but it's kind of to keep him happy because he was having contract negotiations that didn't go right. He was asking for the right to trade or at least hit the market to see if he could find a trade partner, which didn't pan out for him because he wants to be paid top running back dollar money. And I understand it. He's had the best production out of any out of any running back the last 2 years, I believe. He's scoring over 20 touchdowns a year, which is insane. And so he deserves the money. But unfortunately, the running back position is just undervalued by the NFL entirely. So there's not a team out there at this point in time that has the cap space to spend $10 million on Austin Eckler, which is unfortunate. But hey, the Chargers were able to get him, so it's not going to turn into a Melvin Gordon situation where he's going to hold out. So I like that. Hopefully, it kind of raises his hopes of getting that contract after this season, whether it's with the Chargers or with another team. So I think it benefits the Chargers organization.
Right on. Yeah, I like it. I'm an Eckler fan. I love him on fantasy. I think it just helps this team out. I don't think they've really found the answer at his replacement. I mean, really, these other guys behind him haven't been given a, giant fair shot. But what I've seen, doesn't give me a whole lot of hope in replacing Eckler. But maybe just give him more time. So I like this re-signing.
Basically, I mean, it's just like more incentive pay. It's he was still under contract for one more year, so they just bumped up his incentives basically.
Right on. Keep your stars happy.
Exactly. All right, guys, let's get into the NFC East. So if you guys aren't familiar or you haven't seen our other videos that we've done where we recap division by division draft, we go in alphabetical order. So for the NFC East, I believe we're going to be starting with the Dallas Cowboys, Jake.
Yes, sir. And I will say this before now that we're getting into it, I think overall, this division had the best, or so far. You still have to get into the other ones, but I think overall, each team had a pretty solid draft.
I think they had a solid draft, but I still have to give it to the AFC North. I think the AFC North still had the best draft.
Steelers, right? Oh, okay, they had a really good one. I think. What did we rate them? We gave them A's and B's. I mean, everyone got an A except for the Ravens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's get into it. Dallas Cowboys, round 1. They draft Maisie Smith. And I like the pick. I think they would have liked to take, one of the top other D tackles, as in Kalijah Cansey or what the hell's his name, the Eagles boy,
Jalen Carter.
Jalen Carter. Thank you. I'm sure they would have liked to take him here, but you know what? I think Maisie Smith is pretty solid. He looks violent, and I think this is. uh, when I'm looking at the Cowboys draft, they did a lot of things to kind of, I think, or actually a lot of the other teams in this draft did a lot of things to kind of compete with the Eagles. I think, they have the Eagles are good at running the game, running the ball, and they like to run out the middle. Jalen Hurts at times, and I think, Mazie Smith is a direct result of that, and I think he's a really good run blocker. He's pretty. He looks pretty quick on tape. I'll say that, and yeah, I mean he's pretty stout. I think he's like 300 pounds, kind of short, which is what you want on as a if he's going to play that one or one technique, whatever you want to call it. But I like the pick. What do you think of the pick, Dane?
I actually really enjoy this pick. I think Mazi Smith is strong. He's physical. He's got great hand usage. He's versatile in the fact that you can utilize him in the run defense and in the pass defense. You see time and time again, he is just a run stuffer. Like, he knows how to plug up a gap, and he can take on double teams. And if he's taking on double teams, that's going to free up Micah Parsons as well. I think this is the first year Micah Parsons is going to have close to 100% edge rush duties. I think that, his rookie season, he was mostly an off the ball linebacker and then kind of transition into the edge rusher that he is now. So I think having Mazi Smith eat up double teams, or like, he's strong, man. He is strong. He's got great hand usage. So taking on those double teams is going to free up the other edge rushers or the other defensive linemen. So I like the pick a lot. I think that it's going to help, especially against the run defense.
So PFF graded it as an average grade. Their next pick, Luke Schoonmaker out of Michigan. He's probably like the forgotten man on this team, but he looked decent on tape. Looked lanky, didn't look overly athletic, but he kind of looked like the dude they just let go. Honestly, I forget what was their name. What was the tight end's name from last year on the Cowboys?
Dalton Schultz.
Yeah, is he still on the team?
I would have to check. I don't know if he left. Maybe he did.
But he kind of reminded me of Dalton Schultz a little bit, but I like the pick for the Cowboys. They needed to replace their tight end, and they got one. We'll see how he'll produce. I mean, the Cowboys always seem to have a solid tight end. Schultz
went to the Houston Texans. That's right.
Okay. So yeah, the Cowboys always seem to have a good tight end. So, maybe they drafted another Jason Witten, but I don't really know about him. I don't know. What do you think about this pick?
So Luke Schoonmaker is a fairly athletic tight end. The only thing that I don't like is I feel like this is a little bit of a reach. I would have preferred him in maybe the 4th round, maybe 3rd, but I wasn't as high on Luke Schoonmaker as some of the other tight ends. I don't know if it's quarterback play from Michigan that kind of dropped him in my rankings a little bit, because he is athletic. He had a 10.7 broad jump. Wasn't the best jumper, but he had a 1.59 10-yard split. He's got good height, 6'5", 251, so he's around the right size that you want. He runs in the 4.6s, so he's got big body speed. He's not going to be a burner by any means. No tight end is, unless you're just a freak. But I don't think that he's an absolute freak like Kyle Pitts. So I'm not that high on this pick, honestly. I think they kind of jumped the gun a little bit by trying to draft some position that they needed, because they did get rid of Dalton Schultz. So like, they needed a tight end. There was a run on tight ends. I understand that, but he went a little bit earlier than I would have liked.
All right. This next pick is one of my favorites from the Cowboys.
I love this pick.
Texas linebacker DeMarvion Overshown.
Mm-hmm.
And, you mentioned Micah Parsons going, to the edge more exclusively. I think this dude just fills the role of, Micah Parsons having to play inside like that. He looks very Fred Warner-esque. I'm telling you, that new breed of linebacker, like, he used to play safety, I believe. They moved him to linebacker, if I'm not mistaken. He's fast. He's violent. He is a good run defender. I believe
he was a safety. He
Yeah.
was a safety
So
that switched, and
yeah,
that's like
his.
what the Chargers have been doing a lot. Like
Mhm,
almost all their linebackers played safety, or
mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, so he's 6'4", 224 pounds. A little on the light side, but he could bulk up. And I believe he has very good. No. This is a different player, but he looked pretty solid, in my opinion. I think this is my favorite Dallas Cowboys pick. I don't know. What about you, Dane?
I really like this pick actually because if you watch him in the blitzing game,
Mm-hmm.
he's like a heat-seeking missile. He gets after the quarterback, like he is shot right out of a cannon. I love that. I think he's kind of undervalued in his performance and his ability in the passing game. I don't think his pass coverage is pretty decent. And I think that it kind of gets overlooked a little bit with his game. He's a great run stopper. He shoots the gaps well. He can sometimes overshoot and be a little bit too physically aggressive, in my opinion, but they're going to clean that up at the NFL level. It's all coaching. He's got all the intangibles that you need. The physicality's there, and he's a dog, man. I like his mentality. I think this is a great pick, especially in the third round.
Plus, he's going to a really good defense where
Yes.
he's going to learn. And just like this next pick, Valami Fahoko Jr., coming out of San Jose State. He's a edge, and he looked good on tape. But here's the thing: he's playing in a smaller conference, so you kind of got to take the tape with a grain of salt. I'm not trying to take anything away from the man, but we'll see what he can develop into. And I like this as a rotational piece, developmental piece. He looks pretty violent. You got to have that on the D line as a defender, a defender in general. So, yeah, I mean, I like it for the depth. What say you, Dane?
I think it's good depth value. The only thing is he is rigid, man. Every time I'd watch him, like there are some plays where he has good get off, and then there are other plays where he's one of the last ones to jump the ball. But he has very little bend to him. He's very stiff. He's very rigid. He seems more of like a defensive end, like 4-3 defensive end, in my opinion. I don't know if he's the prototypical edge rusher that you see today because he lacks kind of that speed, that agility that you kind of want to see. He's more of like a bull rusher, in my opinion. He's just very bulky, very like power-esque. That seems to be his game. He's going to rely on his power. I think that he can develop the pass rushing set. The only thing is, I don't know if his body is going to be good for bend. So I would probably put him more at a defensive end than an edge rusher, personally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, real quick, guys, I always forget to tell you, but PFF graded these last two picks as just good,
What did they give Luke Schoonmaker?
below average.
Okay, that's where I'm kind of at too.
Yeah. You know what? Kind of going over the Cowboys draft, I'm not as impressed as I was the first time watching it. And I can see the reason for their grades. But their next pick, Asim Richards out of North Carolina, offensive tackle. I'll let you start first on this one.
I think Asim Richards can definitely improve on his anchor. He had certain plays where he would kind of just get pushed back and driven off the ball. He's more of like a roadblock, in my opinion. He kind of gets himself in the way. He's not going to drive people to the ground unless the defender kind of has an off step, which he has taken advantage of. He has pancake people. Offensive linemen will get that. I think that he's a good depth piece. He's going to be coached by one of the best offensive line coaches. Dallas has had great offensive line for years, and I think that they can definitely coach him up. There's a lot of things that he can work on, and he has a lot of the intangibles that you need. He's got good size, 6'4", 309 pounds. He's got 34-inch arms, so he's got the measurables that you're looking for. It's just kind of coaching at this point and working on that power. You're a big body. I think that you should display a little bit more power, especially in the run game. So that's kind of where I'm at. It's an okay pick. I like it, but I'm not in love with it.
Yeah, I like it for the depth. It's a future pick. Tyron Smith, Zach Martin, whether this guy plays guard or tackle, they're not getting any younger. I mean, I think Tyron Smith has, I don't know how many games he's played in the last couple of years, but it hasn't been a whole lot. I feel like he's injured almost every year. But he is one of the best tackles when he's healthy. But the Cowboys aren't going to wait around for him forever. So I think he can learn behind the best, and it's just more of a future kind of pick. Next pick, Southern Mississippi cornerback Eric Scott Jr. Gonna be completely honest, wasn't
Not
a
much
whole
tape.
lot of tape. Yeah, so we could just skip this one. I will give you the grades for these guys though, via PFF though. The Asim Richards below average, and then Eric Scott Jr. average. This next pick is a pretty special pick. Cowboys pick Kansas State running back Deuce Vaughn. I like the pick more for like the culture. I think they could definitely use him. I mean, they got rid of Zeke. Tony Pollard is going to be the main guy there now. And now this guy probably will take over pass catching duties. He's a little small.
He's very small. I think he's like 5'5".
Yeah. So he can be like that scat back screens.
Darren Sproul-esque, Tariq Cohen, Boston Scott, these kind of guys.
He'll get like 15, maybe 20 plays a game, and see what he can do, what he can create. I don't personally think this pick helps the Cowboys a whole lot, to be honest, but I still like the pick just for the culture. You gotta have some kind of culture in your organization, and drafting players of sons or coaches or whatever, or sons of coaches and players, that's pretty special, and that does a lot for your fans, that does a lot for your teammates around you, and just does good stuff for everything. How do you feel about this pick?
I actually really like it, but I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I don't know how they're going to utilize him in the offense other than, kind of passing game, screens. I don't know. It's going to have to be contrived opportunities with him because they're missing their power back. Tony Pollard isn't the power back either. He's a fast scat back that can catch the ball as well. They're missing Zeke for the short yardage game, and it's not like Deuce Vaughn's going to get you that 1 to 2 yards on the goal line by pushing the pile. That's not him. He's 5'5". He's fast. He's agile. He's elusive. So I don't know, man. If they can find a good role for him in this offense, I think that he can be a home run player. Like, he has the potential to make it work in the offense. He really does, because he reminds me of Darren Sproles. He really does. Like, he's quick, he's elusive, he can catch the ball, you can utilize him in a bunch of different facets. It's just, what is his role going to be in this offense? Is he going to find playing time his rookie year? Which I think he will. It's just, how are they going to utilize him?
Yeah, I see him more of like, going out wide, doing some wide receiver screen passes, a lot of screens, maybe an occasional, draw play. But this guy's going to be facing, now that I think about it, the NFC East has like overall the best D-line units, and they're big boys. I mean, they're all big, they're D-line, but like some of the best D linemen are in this division.
Yep.
And it's going to be interesting. And
if Jordan Davis tackles him, he'll probably break him.
Yeah. And now we're talking about it, I feel like Zeke will just sign like a cheap 1-year deal just to stay with the Cowboys. I mean, they could still use him, I think, but we'll see. And PFF graded this as a good grade. Last pick of the Cowboys draft is Jalen Brooks out of South Carolina. Honestly, I'm having trouble remembering this pick.
I'll start off a little bit. Yeah. Jalen Brooks has decent hands. You see some like really remarkable one-handed catches, surprisingly. But the thing is, he's not an athletic wide receiver. He ran almost a 4.7 40. He's not even that big. He's 6'1", 201 pounds. So you would expect him to run faster. Didn't jump the highest. Didn't have the best broad jump. At a okay 10-yard split, 1.56. He's going to be using his route running, and that's what he's going to have to work on, is just making that his game is his route running ability if he wants to find playing time for this team. He's a backup at this point. He's a rotational piece that you can utilize. But other than that, like he could develop into something. He just doesn't have the athleticism that you would expect for an NFL wide receiver to succeed in today's game.
Yeah. I'm not even going to say a whole lot of it because I'm honestly having trouble remembering him. So honestly, like he might have just not impressed me a whole lot. But PFF graded it as an average pick. So overall, I take back my statement at this division having one of the best drafts, because now rethinking and talking about the Dallas Cowboys, I don't think they did that hot. But what would you grade them at, Dane?
I'd give them a C plus. They got some positions of need where tight end, defensive line. They got back. I think that they hit a home run with DeMarvion Overshown. I really do. I think that's great. I think Deuce Vaughn, if say Tony Pollard goes down, they can utilize him in a somewhat similar role. So maybe that's good depth, but I do worry about this team's offense a little bit going into the Mike McCarthy era, especially like wanting to run the ball more and not having that bruising running back. So kind of would have liked them to go maybe a bigger running back for this team. But like we said, we like the fan service that they got with drafting a recruiter or a coach's
someone
son.
In the organization.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm going to give it a C plus. They got some good pieces. I think Mozzie Smith's a great pick. I love that pick. I think it's going to help the defensive line, but I'm not in love with this draft, honestly.
Yeah. The more I talk about it, I'm not in love with it either. I like the Mozzie Smith pick, the linebacker out of, what's his name? Overshown?
Texas. Yeah,
out of Texas. DeMarvion. I love that pick. And the other ones, it's just kind of wait and see, rotational pieces or future picks. And then the Deuce Vaughn one, I do like it. I just, like you said, I don't know how he'll do. Maybe he'll be Darren Sproles. Maybe he'll be Alvin Kamara. I don't know. But I'm going to give it a C plus as well.
Okay.
And the PFF grade is a C plus.
Oh,
and
nice.
The NFL.com grade is way too high, a B plus.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty surprising.
Well, I like that we're on par with PFF.
Mm-hmm. All right. The next team we have on the agenda is, I believe, the New York Giants.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And I actually really like the New York Giants draft.
I am right there with you. I really think that they hit a home run on their first 3 picks. I think their first 4 picks are pretty good, honestly. And we will get into it. Sorry. The first pick of the New York Giants draft is Maryland cornerback Deonte Banks. Yes.
Take it away, Dane.
I love Deonte Banks. He is one of the most athletic corners coming out of this year's draft. He is a little bit raw. He's got good technique. He is a good cornerback. Don't get me wrong when I say that he's a little bit raw, but he will make a couple mistakes because Maryland isn't known for like producing the best cornerbacks. Like this isn't Florida State or anything or DBU. So he is going to have to learn some things, but the athleticism is off the charts. He jumped 11 foot 4 inches. He ran a 4.3 40. Vertical jump was 42 inches. This guy's a freak athletically, and it shows on tape. Like he is a lockdown corner. He might get called a little bit for penalties, holding, PI, but it's something that he's going to learn in the NFL. And I'm sure that they're going to coach him up. He's going into a good defensive system. So I think this is a great pick. I think he has one of the highest ceilings out of any cornerback in this year's draft based off of his athletic profile.
Yeah, I really like this pick. He's the 3rd best cornerback in this draft. And it's not really like putting him that far behind. Like I think he could, I think this cornerback class was so stacked that you could, take your pick. And I like watching this guy on tape. Like, he's a ball hawk. I'm trying to think of him. Trying to think of some of his tape, but he's fast. That's everything you want in a cornerback. I mean, yeah, he runs a 4.3. Arm length is medium, 31 inches, but yeah, I love this draft again, and I think they did a lot to kind of counteract what the Eagles are doing over there. Mm-hmm. So I like the Giants draft a lot this year. The next pick, I love this pick.
Me too.
John Michael Schmitz.
Michael Schmitz. John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt.
So as I was saying earlier, like this division has some of the best defensive linemen, and this dude is a mauler. Yeah, he doesn't look overly athletic, but he just looks like a mauler, my guy. How big is he? I gotta see.
He is 6'3.5", 300 pounds.
Yeah, see, on PFF, I got 6'4", 320, and they have him as their first overall center. Interesting. I don't think that was how they had it earlier, but no, yeah, this guy is just awesome. Protect Daniel Jones at all cost, and run the ball. They got Saquon back there. They just drafted a dude. He's gonna help them. I think he's gonna immediately come in and probably get that number one center role. Yeah, I like this pick a lot.
Yeah, I do too. I think that you can utilize him even pulling. I mean, he shows on tape of him kicking out blocks left and right. He's, like you said, he's a mauler. He's physical. He can handle working up to the second level if he needs to. He's good in the run game. He's good in the pass game. He's not, like you said, he's not the most athletic, but he tries. Like, he is physical. And, what he lacks in athleticism, he makes up for in just full on grit. And he is like, he's made to play football. He's made to be in the trenches, battling these big beefy boys day in, day out. I like this pick a lot.
Yeah, and also he's very good at kind of establishing that zone block. He's not super athletic, but he just does the right, steps, gets around and turns the defender around, and he moves him out of the play. So it's going to help their run game a lot. This next pick, I love. I've been saying it all last year. The Giants need a wide receiver, and honestly, looking at their roster, this guy comes in and becomes their number one, I think he becomes their number one wide receiver. Jalen Hyatt out of Tennessee.
This is a steal, by the way. Getting him in the third round is incredible value. I think he could have easily gone very early in the second round, possibly in the back of the first.
Yeah, I like this pick a lot. He's fast. He's decently tall, 6 foot, not like crazy, but
he's lanky.
Yeah,
he is slender.
He can jump 40-inch vertical.
He reminds me of a Deontay Smith, just quicker, but doesn't have necessarily the route running capabilities that Deontay Smith does. But he's got that burst. He is fast.
He looks bigger than Deontay Smith to me on tape, but they're probably around the same weight. But the only thing I would say, my negative about him, is kind of lacking in the route tree, kind of just like a lot of verticals, which, Daniel Bellinger. Is it Daniel Bellinger? What's his name?
Daniel Jones. Daniel
Jones.
Bellinger's a tight end.
Jesus. Daniel Jones has a decent arm, but so he can get him the ball, but I would just like him to expand that route tree, and I know Dable's going to do something fun with him. So I like this. I like this pick a lot.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It's kind of a shame that he didn't run faster at his 40 or at the combine. His 40-yard dash was a 4.4. I thought for sure this guy was going to run in the 4.2s. Like I genuinely thought that he was going to run in the 4.2s, at least low 4.3s. I think that his game tape is faster than the combine indicated because when you watch him on tape, he is just running past people left and right. Maybe he's a slow get off, but then he's just a long strider. So maybe he gains speed as he goes down further. So that could be why his 40-yard dash maybe wasn't as elite as we thought it was going to be. But, other than the route running tree, I think he could also improve with his hands. But I think that he's immediately going to come in and make an impact for this offense because it's going to give Daniel Jones a home run ability. If he can hit a deep bomb, this guy's going to get past defenders. There's no question in my mind that he is one of the most readily wide open wide receivers that I watched in this year's draft. And Steve Smith even talked about it. Like he is just constantly open, and maybe he doesn't have the route running tree that say like Deontay Smith, Justin Jefferson have, but he's got that elite long speed, and he is just going to get behind defenders. So hopefully Daniel Jones is practicing during OTAs. Hopefully he's going to get him in training camp and all that stuff. Hopefully they can work on that connection because I think that could be a lethal duo.
Mm-hmm. And again, I always forget, but they graded Deontay Banks very good, John Michael Schmitz elite, and Jalen Hyatt good. And so my personal opinion, I think I like their first 4 picks. Dan likes their 3. But Eric Gray out of Oklahoma. And I like this pick because he looks like a decent runner. Not like ground or game changing speed, but he can definitely hit the right hole. He can, outrun some people. He's going to get caught, but he looks like a decent runner, and he's big. He's stocky. He's not like big, but he's stocky. But the reason I like this pick is because, Saquon Barkley is they haven't re-signed him yet, correct?
I don't know if they re-signed him. Actually, I haven't been keeping up.
So I believe, I could be completely wrong. We could have just forgot that piece
smoke
of news
out of our ass.
Yeah, but if they haven't signed him yet, like you said, teams don't really value the running back like they used to.
I think he got franchise tagged, didn't he?
I feel like he did. I feel like he did. But for some reason, Saquon Barkley, is unhappy. They don't re-sign him. This guy could come in and play that Saquon Barkley role. And even if he doesn't, Matt Breida, I believe, is the backup to Matt Breida. Yeah, Matt Breida. And, you don't want to be giving Matt Breida a giant share. He's a smaller running back. And they want to run the ball. So I like this pick. Kind of get like a 3-horse stable back there. And I think he automatically comes in and, becomes a contributor on offense.
Yeah, so I like this pick. I'm not in love with it. I think that he can come in and get you some short yardage gain. I think that he's got some wiggle. He's physical. He's going to be a hard-nosed runner, so I like that. Maybe he can be your goal line running back. I don't know if that's going to be beneficial for fantasy owners of Saquon Barkley, but I'm sure Saquon's going to get it done no matter what. As long as he's healthy. But that's also another thing is Saquon's health has been in question because he's had one season, it seems like, of making it through the entire season. Other than that, he's had ACL injuries. So the health comes into play so he can see, and I think he will see playing time on the field. And, I think he's good. I don't think he's great. I think that he can be coached up. I think that learning behind Saquon, maybe Saquon can help him in some training drills or something, maybe get his quads to the size of Saquon. I don't know if anyone will ever have him other than AJ Dillon and Saquon Barkley. They're the Quadzillas. But, I like it, but I'm not in love with it. I think it's a good, solid pick, and it's good depth, good rotation.
Yep. This next pick, Old Dominion defensive back Trey Hawkins the third. He's a smaller school. I really don't have a whole lot to say about this pick. I'll let you take this one away, Dan.
I didn't see too much tape. I think that he's going to be a special teams player. I think that, he's got good height. He's 6'2". He's decently athletic, but I think it's going to be more of a rotational piece, and he's probably going to see playing time in special teams. And he can learn. I think if he puts on a little bit more mass, he would be a good rotational piece for the defense as long as he's coached up.
Yep. So they gated Eric Gray average and Trey Hawkins below average. Next pick, Jordan Riley out of Oregon, defensive tackle.
Yeah. Let me lead this off. I'm not the biggest fan. As an Oregon Ducks fan, I don't know, man. There are not many highlights to go off of. He's not a good pass rusher by any means. He is not getting after the quarterback in a passing set. He's okay in run defense, but still he kind of puts himself out of position. If he's double teamed, he's going to get blown back 10, 15 yards. He sometimes gets blown back by a single offensive lineman. He's not the strongest for his size, and he's 6'5", 338. He should be playing with more power. He has the capabilities where I've seen him play with that power that you expect, but it's the inconsistency that I'm worried about. And I don't know if it's more of like a high motor thing, because he does not have it. He is not the kind who's going to go sideline to sideline. He gets gassed pretty quick. So that's my concern with this pick. I think if he trims down a little bit, maybe to around the 315, he would be in better shape. But, that's a little slender for defensive tackle sometimes.
All right. PFF graded this Jordan Riley as average and Trey Hawkins as below average. They didn't even give a grade to this next guy, but it's their last pick. We got Javarius Owens, safety out of Houston. I actually like this guy's tape. He's fast.
It was surprising. It wasn't bad.
I was like, okay. I don't think he's going to come in and, be a day one starter, but I think he can get some reps, be a special teamer. And he looks fast. So, there's not really a whole lot of information on this guy, just, the few highlight reels that I saw, but, it doesn't look too bad. And so, yeah.
He seems like he puts himself in pretty decent position also. Like he seemed decently athletic, high pointing a ball. He's also decently strong. I mean, for a defensive back, he bench pressed 15 reps at 225. That's not bad at all. Broad jump was it was 10 foot 5 inches, not terrible. Vertical was almost 40, but I don't know, man. I think he can read the quarterback's eyes decently well and puts himself in decent coverage. So I actually thought this was above average in my opinion.
Yeah, I would have given it a good. I liked what I saw. All right, time to grade the Giants. What would you give them, Dane?
I'd give them a solid B. I think that I love their first 3 picks, and then afterwards it's kind of like, all right, I see the direction that they're going with, but I'm not in love with them. So I think that if I was more in love with the 4th round running back, like where you are, I probably would give them a B+, because that's 4 picks in a row that I really like. But I think that the second half kind of dwindled down a little bit. I don't think that they got any steals of the draft later on. So I'm going to give them a solid B. I like their draft. I think that they hit on a lot of positions of need and where they wanted to go. So I like it.
I'm going to give them a B+.
Okay.
For 2 reasons. They got 3 automatic starters with their first 3 picks. And they desperately needed some wide receiver help. I don't know what they have some guys who can't stay healthy, some young guys. Maybe we'll see what they got, Wandale Robinson, Isaiah Hodgins, but those guys are, kind of question marks for me. I think Jalen Hyatt comes in and becomes, the number 1 wide receiver, or at least a big, deep threat. And then the reason I like the running back is because I'm not really sure about Saquon. I don't know how long I want to trust his health. He was healthy last year, but before that, it was like 2 years of not being healthy. And it's kind of like the same thing with Christian McCaffrey. Like, you can't really 2 years and then 1 year playing. It's like, all right, come on. It's hard to trust someone. So I'm not saying he's going to get hurt, but I just like the pick he looks like a solid runner. And I think he can kind of replicate what Saquon does on the ground. So for that reason, I'm giving it a B plus.
Okay, I like it. You ready to move on, Jake?
Yes, I am.
All right, let's move on to, I think, one of the best drafts in this year's draft. That would be the Philadelphia freaking Eagles. I don't know what is going on. I don't know how teams are allowing Philadelphia to just build this defensive monster that they are building. It is going to be, dude, I think it might compete with the 49ers defense. Like, I'm not trying to like just blow smoke here. They are literally building a defense from the best college defense I have ever witnessed in the Georgia Bulldogs. And they're just getting piece by piece by piece. Yeah. This defensive line is going to be freaking nasty.
Honestly, like I was watching the tape and I was getting more pissed off and more pissed off because literally every single one of their picks I like. Yeah. Even the quarterback they drafted.
Yeah, I know.
Dude, I mean, I think, there was 3 teams that people have said they won the draft. The Seahawks, the Eagles, and I think it was the Texans. But, the Eagles definitely won. They won the draft, potentially. And I like what they did because they lost some people on that defense. They actually lost a lot of people on that defense from last year. Yeah. And, they could have either gone free agents or they got some of the best players in the draft. Or potentially
they went young and they hit home runs.
Yeah. I mean, first off, the NFL let the Jalen Carter, which I said was the best.
When Seattle passed on him, I was like, no freaking way the Eagles are really about to get him. Yep. And guess what? Jalen Carter, the number 1 player in mine and Jake's opinion in this year's draft, falls to them.
Yep.
The Philadelphia Eagles get Jalen Carter at pick number 9. I know that there's the whole legal repercussions and all that stuff that he had to deal with. Pro Day didn't look great, yada, yada, yada. Put on the tape. You understand why he is the best defensive player in this year's draft.
I will say this. We've questioned his character a little bit. There are some character concerns. So I think this guy has all the potential in the world to be one of the best D linemen in the NFL for years to come. But, hopefully he gets, some veteran coaching and, fixes some stuff up, because I was thinking about it and I was like, what would be the best case scenario for him? Reggie White. He could be a Reggie White on the interior. Eagles, just an elite pass rusher, elite D lineman. What could be the worst? Who was elite? I was trying to think of who is elite, but kind of just like, you might laugh when I come up with this, but Albert Hainsworth. Do you remember Albert Hainsworth?
Dude, long time ago.
Yes. So, just elite talent. And as soon as he signed that second contract with a Washington football team, I don't know if I can say their old team name, but he just
Redskins?
he just like completely turned into a POS. And I'm not saying I want this for this guy, but there has been some, like, it's obvious there's been some things that's the only thing that you can worry about with this guy. So as long as you get some veteran coaching, Fletcher Cox, Hassan Reddick, if they can just, kind of steer him in the right direction, I think he'll be good. But other than that, I love the pick. I also hate the pick. But let's go on. Their next pick,
Georgia, back to back, baby.
Yeah, they drafted.
God,
they drafted Nolan Smith.
Dude, he was like my third overall edge in this year's draft.
PFF, they have him as their number 2. I will say I think I'm more impressed by his run stopping ability.
For his size too. He's not even that big.
Yeah, that's another concern. I think he's an awesome athlete, but I think I didn't see a whole lot pass rushing. I think he's good at stopping the run, and I just think he needs to bulk up a little bit. But the good thing for him is he's sitting behind an elite D line. Like, this is the best D line. I think the 49ers have some good defensive linemen. I think they overall play as a good unit, but I think overall, I think this is the best D line. And it was the best D line last year. It took him to the Super Bowl, I think, or, a part of it. But I think he has some, I don't think he has to come in and be a day one starter. He can be a rotational piece, and eventually, Hassan Reddick's going to leave. So, or retire or whatever. He'll step in at that time. So I like the pick. They're just going to have bodies on bodies. And he's, the top 3 edge rusher, or top 4 edge rusher, whatever, top 5 edge rusher in this class. So I like the pick a lot too.
I do want to push back on one thing you said. I think he is a great pass rusher. I think the only reason he didn't have as much tape is because he had a pectoral tear. And so he missed like a good portion of the season. So he wasn't in like the title game or the college football championship. He missed, I think he played like 5 or 6 games, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it was less. But this man runs a 4.3 40. This is an edge rusher running in the 4th frickin' threes. Are you kidding me? Broad jump was almost 11 feet. His vertical jump was 41 inches. He is an athletic specimen. Like, this guy is an absolute freak of nature. I do think that he could put on more mass and, run in the 4.4s and still be elite. But he kind of reminds me of a little bit of a Von Miller. He's shifty, elusive, powerful. He's got good hand usage, good bend. I don't know, man. This is back-to-back steals that Philadelphia got. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yep, and I also really like their next pick, Tyler Steen out of Alabama. He did play tackle, but they drafted him as a guard, and they just lost their guard. So they literally found replacements for almost everybody they've lost in free agency. So Tyler Steen, he's a big dude, 6'5", 310. He looks pretty solid. He played in the SEC. He has pretty quick feet. He's pretty thick. He's going to be able to handle, big linemen. I don't know. It's just, I like this pick a lot because, one, I think they're gonna put him at guard, and they need help at guard. So
yeah, and I think having him be a versatile player, like if you have a tackle go down, he can be out there. He played in the SEC and held his own. He did it against some of the best edge rushers in college football, and he's physical. He keeps his legs churning, which I love. That's what you want to see from an offensive lineman. He doesn't really stall out. Like, he keeps moving and keeps going. He's strong. He's physical. I think this is a great pick in the 3rd round.
Yep. And their next pick is probably my favorite pick.
I told you. See, remember when I told you Sidney Brown? Yeah. I freaking love. He reminds me of a Troy Polamalu.
Honestly, like, I was watching this and I'm like, Sidney Brown, like, it wasn't really clicking. And then I forgot his brother was drafted by the Bengals. And then you were mentioning him. Dude, this guy, Sidney Brown out of Illinois. He plays safety, which
I love the
safety. They lost CJ Gardner-Johnson, and I think Illinois had like 3 badass DBs get drafted this year.
Devon Witherspoon, him, and then I'm trying to remember the other guy.
I think the Commanders drafted the other dude.
I think so, yeah.
We'll get to him, but no, this dude is a ball hawk. He is fast. He's just aggressive, dude. I don't even know how to explain. Like, he's like Troy Polamalu.
He's a thumper, baby.
Yeah, dude.
Jartavius Martin is the other one, I think.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's not like super small. I think that was one of the knocks on him. They're saying he's very short for a safety, but he's 6 foot 205, but
That's
he has
actually
a
wrong. The reason why they say he's small, he's actually 5'10".
Oh, all right. Well, he is pretty small, but his vertical is a 40 inches, so he can get up there.
And his broad jump's 10-10. He almost broad jumped 11 feet,
Yeah.
40-yard dash. Insane.
So,
this guy's a freak.
Yeah, I really like this pick.
Mm-hmm. The only knock that I have on him is he can be sometimes too overly aggressive and then leave his feet and miss the tackle. But when you see him connect, it is a work of art. Like, he is physical for his size, and he is not afraid to like lay the hammer down, which I love. And like you said, he's a ball hawk also, and he shows that based off of his athleticism. He can high point a ball really well. So I love this pick. You know, if you guys listen to our position rankings that we did before the draft, he is, I think, my second or third defensive back out of all safeties. Yeah, I think he was second.
Right on. Real quick, Jalen Carter graded an elite grade. Nolan Smith, elite. Tyler Steen, average. Sidney Brown, above average. This next pick, I think
another Georgia,
another Georgia boy. Keely or Kelly?
Keely Ringo.
Keely Ringo. Solid cornerback. I think he was pretty big. Yeah, 6'2", 210. Yes, this was the cornerback. Dude, this dude is giant.
And he runs a 4.36 40.
Yeah, that's insane, bro. Like, no reason a guy this big should be running that fast. I think some of the knocks on him were he's kind of more of a reactionary player instead of anticipatory. But he can coached up. He's going to a good cornerback room. He's going to a good defense. And the thing is, on paper, he's going to have the best defensive line. That's going to do nothing but help him out. So I don't know I think he might be able to start, week 1. We'll see. But, they still got Slay on the other side. I think Bradbury left. So, maybe he comes in and just steps in as that other cornerback. But I like the pick a lot.
See, Keely Ringo actually had conversation of being a first-round pick. Like, he was in the conversation, but this is such a deep cornerback class. He got pushed down. And I think one of the reasons he got dropped down is I don't think he's necessarily a very fluid cornerback. Like, his hips aren't the most fluid. He's kind of stiff, but he's got elite speed. He runs in the 4.3s. He can make tackles. He's somewhat of a ball hawk when he's in position. Like you said, I like how you said that he's reactionary instead of like anticipatory. I think that's a great way to put it. He's not the best at that. But like you said, you coach him up. This guy has elite traits. I just wish that he was better at jumping. He's definitely not going to jump really high, but
yeah. There's some pros and cons. They're saying he's one of the freakiest athletes in this draft, and a con was his hips. So right on the money, Dane. Good job. And they graded this. Sorry, I have to scroll up, guys. Very good. And this next pick, and I told you guys I liked all their picks, even their quarterback. They drafted Tanner McKee out of Stanford. And let's be honest, Stanford wasn't that great this last year. They were able to beat Notre Dame, unfortunately. But upset. But Tanner McKee is a solid pocket passer. I think he's one of the most accurate quarterbacks in this draft. He's not like crazy mobile or anything, but I think, they got rid of Gardner Minshew. Or they didn't get rid of him, but he left. He's a solid depth piece for them. He's not going to see the field unless, knock on wood, Jalen Hurts gets hurt. But they have Marcus Mariota. We've all seen that story play. I wouldn't want if Jalen Hurts gets hurt again, I wouldn't want my team's Super Bowl hopes in the hands of Marcus Mariota, if I'm being honest. But I don't know if I would want it in a rookie. But I don't know. I still like this pick.
I like this pick. I'm not going to talk too much about it. He's a pocket passer. He's accurate. He's going to be a good backup.
Yeah, and their last pick, Texas D tackle Moro Ojomo. Literally, like the last pick in their last pick, a solid pick, bro. Like he's not gonna be a day one starter, but he's going to be a rotational piece. He's very violent, very violent. He's a good run stopper. I think if I remember correctly, he was pretty. He could rush the passer. Where is he? More Ojomo, yeah. He's not like giant. He's not like Jordan Davis giant. He's 6'3", 281. I think, if he lost a couple pounds, maybe got a little bit more explosive, he could put him on the edge. But I like the pick, just the, rotation, man. If there's one thing that the 49ers and the Eagles have told us is when you have just body after body on the D line, it does nothing but help you. So I like this pick.
Yeah, I think this is great value getting him as late as they did because, like you said, he's physical. He's going to help immediately against the run when he is in there. I think that he's a good rotational piece. Keep your defensive line, just fresh throughout the entirety of the game. If you have this many pieces, you can just rotate them as much as you want, like you said, with the 49ers. So I love this pick. I love this draft. I'm just going to say it outright. I think this is an A. I think Philadelphia knocked this out of the ballpark. You know what I'm going to do? It's an A+ draft for me. It's an A+.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think if you give this draft anything but an A+, you're wrong. Real quick, they graded Keely Ringo very good, Tanner McKee very good, and Moro Ojomo as elite. So, yeah, so they had 3 elites, couple very goods. I give it an A+ as well. PFF gives it an A+, and the NFL.com gives it an A-. So I guess NFL.com is Dallas Cowboys fans.
How is that possible? Who did they give a B+ to where we gave them C+?
The Cowboys.
Was that the Cowboys? Yeah, it was the Cowboys. Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. Well,
that is freaking stupid.
Yeah, no, they did great. Honestly, they're already a good team, and I think they're just going to be good for a while now. Yeah. I think the battles between them and the 49ers.
Dude, Howie Roseman is like a Greek god. Like he was just heaven sent for the Philadelphia Eagles. He is just a madman as a general manager. Fuck.
Yeah. All right, and the last team in this division, we got the Washington Commanders.
All right, let's get into it.
All right, the first pick, we got Mississippi State cornerback Emmanuel Forbes. I like this pick a lot. This, like we said earlier, this cornerback class is very stacked. The only thing is he's a little on the light side. I think he said he's 160. Was he 160?
He's 166. He is, and then he's 6'1", 166. Yeah, but so the athleticism is there. Mm-hmm. Elite speed, good jumping. Sure. He had the best ball production out of any cornerback. I think he had 14 interceptions in his collegiate career, which is absolutely insane. Mm-hmm. I love the production, but the NFL is a different beast. I think that he's going to be great in like breaking up passes, but when it comes to run defense, I do not see it. I cannot see a 166-pound cornerback making a tackle against Saquon Barkley. Prove me wrong.
Yeah, that's why cornerbacks go for the legs or you gang tackle. I'm not like as scared of this pick because the way the NFL is trending, it's more about getting interceptions. It's not about getting big hits. It's more, causing turnovers. It's going for the ball instead of the player. So I think this is just kind of trending towards that direction. That was hilarious. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, we just saw Dane's fiance just yawn massively. It was hilarious. Good job, Erica. But I like this pick. I think he's going to a good situation. The Commanders have a top 12, top 13 defense, and this just makes them better, I think.
Yeah, I like this pick. I like it a lot. My only pushback is run defense, but the ball production is going to be there, so I like it.
And this is the other Illinois, Jartavius Murray.
Yes. Yep.
Martin,
Jartavius Martin. Yes.
Dude, this dude is a ball hawk. I think that no wonder Illinois was ranked this year, or this last year. They just had
I loved Illinois' defense this year. It was elite.
I mean, they had a cornerback go in the top 5. So and then I don't know if their other cornerback, if he got drafted. I forget.
I think he did. I'm trying to remember who it was, though. I don't remember off the top of my head. But Jartavius Martin, athletic freak, just like Sidney Brown, even more athletic, in my opinion. Broad jump 11.1, vertical jump 44 inches. That's absolutely insane. 5'11", 194 pounds, ran in the 4.4s as well. Dude's a thumper as well. This defensive back unit for Illinois was just playing with its hair on fire. Yep. So I love it.
And also, D-line causes pressure, causes turnovers. And what do you want in the backfield? Ball hawks. So they just got 2 ball hawks, create turnovers. I love it. Their next pick, Ricky Stromberg out of Arkansas, center. I wasn't overly impressed by this guy. I think he did a good job of he's good at picking up blitzes. But he wasn't like some of the centers I watched earlier. I don't know what their offensive line I don't know what the Commanders' offensive line situation is like. But I don't know. I really kind of can't really grade this one.
Yeah, I think this is an average pick. If PFF was going to say like above average, it's good. I think that it's good depth at the center position. He doesn't have that it factor for me, though. He didn't like bully people around like we saw with John Michael Schmidt.
Yeah, he wasn't. You can automatically tell when a lineman is just violent and powerful. I didn't really see any of that. I mean, I'm not saying he isn't, but maybe just what we saw, I didn't see it.
So I like it. I'm not in love with it.
Yeah, same. The first pick, Emmanuel Forbes, was average. Jartavius Martin, below average, and Ricky Stromberg.
They were below average on Jartavius. Oh my God. No. I disagree with that one 100%.
I do as well. Ricky Stromberg, below average. And their next pick out of Utah, we got Braden Daniels, and I hate how he spells his name, but obviously they needed help on the offensive line. They got Sam Howell at center now, so protect your young quarterback if he is your future. So I'm having a hard time remembering this guy. Take it away, Dan.
Braden, I'm not the biggest fan of how he spells his name either. I like Braden Daniels, though. I think that he recovers quickly when he's beat. He plays with a decent bend and athleticism. He crashes into down blocks with momentum and leverage. I like it. I think this is great depth. I think that he could find a starting role. I just, I don't know. I think he needs to play with a little bit more physicality as well and kind of work on his footwork. But I think that's a lot of tackles or offensive linemen that are coming out of college. There's always something that you can clean up. So I think that if you clean it up, I think you'll be solid. I think I like this more than their center pick. I like it more than Ricky.
Yeah, I do too. What do they have him? Whatever you're looking at, what do they have him listed as?
Let me see. Let me pull him up. Because they have him as a guard.
Or what's his measurements, like weight and height?
Let me see. He is 6'4", 294.
Yeah, so that's what they have him at on PFF. That is pretty light. I would like him if he's going to play tackle. I would like him to gain.
Yeah, maybe 315.
Yeah, at least. So that's just me. I like my hog mollies big and beefy. But yeah, I agree with you. I like this pick more than the center pick. This next pick I think is probably one of their best late round picks. Clemson edge KJ Henry.
Yeah.
Um, I think he kind of got outshined by the other dude, Miles Murphy, I think his name is, a little
Miles
bit.
Murphy.
But I like this pick. He's going to a great D line, and I don't know how much longer Chase Young has with this team. Unfortunately, it just really hasn't turned out the way I thought it would be for Chase Young on the Commanders. I don't think they thought it would, and maybe they found his replacement. Fortunately for them, they have three other really solid tight ends, defensive ends or defensive linemen. Jesus Christ, defensive linemen that seem to stay healthy, who are really good. And I'm not saying Chase Young isn't good, but he just can't really stay healthy. But this guy, he's gonna go in there rotation, and I think he's a solid edge rusher.
I think he's solid as well, but if you're talking about Chase Young's health concerns, this is another player who had health concerns in the collegiate career. So it is kind of a risky pick, but when he was on the field, he was productive. He's not like elite in any sense, but he's got good production. I think a lot of the reason he wasn't elite is because he was playing with Miles Murphy, Brian Breezy, who are kind of getting their spotlight on the defensive line. And, he was hurt. He dealt with injuries as well. So he struggled to see playing time. But yeah, I like the pick. I think that it's good value in the 5th round.
All right. Their next pick. Well, let me do this real quick. They gave Braden Daniels a good grade, and they gave KJ Henry average. Next pick, Chris Rodriguez, running back out of Kentucky. I don't know. I'm not like in love with this pick. They already have Antonio Gibson. They have Brian Robinson. It's just more of like a depth piece.
I feel like this is insurance, if anything.
Yeah, and it's just weird how they kind of treat Antonio Gibson. This dude could be a beast. For some reason, whatever it is, I don't think this team likes Antonio Gibson. And
if the Chargers wanted him, I would be all for him. When he was coming out of Memphis, he was one of my favorite players to watch at Memphis because he was a wide receiver, converted running back. You can utilize him in both, and he's fast. Antonio Gibson runs in the 4.3s. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so I don't know what it is. Maybe this is Antonio Gibson's replacement, and it could be a 1-2 punch with Brian Robinson, or it's just more of a depth piece to see what they can do. Because they're gonna want to run the ball with Sam Howell. So, but he didn't look like a terrible runner. He did play at Kentucky, so it's not like, well, that's SEC, so it's not too bad competition. But he looked okay. Not in love with this pick.
I wasn't in love with it either. I think that he's a rotational depth piece. I think that's exactly what he is. There's nothing super flashy about him. He can break some runs, but he's not your home run hitter where it's just going to be like elite speed down the sideline, stiff arming someone. He can get it done, but he's not elite. He can get you the short yardage though. I'll say that.
Yeah. And their last pick, they pick another lineman or another defensive player, Louisiana edge Andre Jones Jr. And actually, now that I think about it, maybe they're just getting rotational pieces for Chase Young, just so he doesn't have to play every snap. But this guy is very interesting. He didn't have a whole lot of tape. He plays at Louisiana, the Ragin' Cajuns, so kind of a smaller school. But this guy is explosive. He really only had like a couple 2-minute reels. Not even that. It was like, I think it was like 1:30, and it was just like a couple plays. So he's very raw. He's explosive. He just looks like an athlete. I think they have him as edge. I think he could play linebacker. He was fast. I think he could play maybe some, stand up, move around in the box. I think he's a project piece, to be honest. And he's going to a good situation with a good D line, so he's going to learn from a lot of good defensive linemen. But I don't know if he necessarily helps the Commanders right away.
Yeah, I think this is great depth on the defensive side of the ball. You can utilize. He's versatile. The versatility is definitely going to help him in certain regards. I think that he's going to be a special teams player, but his tape is more promising than you would expect. I mean, he's not going up against the greatest competition, playing with the Raging Cajuns in Louisiana, but he shows some grit. He shows some toughness. He's not the most athletic by any means, but he makes up for it in physicality and the determination and will to get after the pass rushers. So I like it. I think for their last pick, I don't think this is like a home run by any means, but I think that it is good value.
Yeah, I think I would not be surprised if this guy is making plays on that D line. I think it's just go out there and make a tackle. What's this guy's name? Andre Jones. He looks like a pretty big dude. They don't really have any measurements on this guy. Let me click on his name. Andre Jones. All right.
I have him at 6'4", 248, 34-inch arms. He's got good length, 10-inch hands. So he's got good size. He's got good measurables. It's just the testing wasn't necessarily there.
Yeah, so we'll see. But what would you grade the Commanders?
I would give their draft I would probably go C+ as well, man. Honestly, C+, maybe B-.
I am thinking more of a B-. I like the Forbes pick.
Jartavius Martin. I like that a lot, actually.
Yeah, I like that one.
I like Brayden Daniels. KJ Henry's good.
I like the KJ Henry one. And then I don't know why I'm kind of just enamored by this Andre Jones dude. Now that I'm thinking about his tape, he was just like the way he was playing. Like it was very interesting. Like it was just I haven't seen
something
someone
there. There's a little it factor.
I think if they refine what he's got, he could be something special. But we'll see. Only time will tell. But yeah, for me, I'm giving it a B-. They had some.
I'll go B- as well. I think that I do like it a little bit more than I like Dallas's draft. So I think that it's only fair that I go B- if I gave Dallas a C+.
Same. But if you talk to NFL.com, they would give the Cowboys the best grades. What
did PFF and?
Yeah, so PFF gave them the Commanders a B, solid B, and NFL.com gave them a solid B. So we're a little lower than both, but you know what? We have our own opinions. Mm-hmm. That's why you guys listen, right?
And guys, if you made it this far, almost an hour and a half in, Jake has something else to say.
We have to rank their drafts. We have to rank them from first. Obviously, number one's going to be the Eagles.
Are number one by far. Like, I don't even think it's close. So, so for me, it's going to go Dallas. It's going to go
at 4.
Dallas at 4.
Same.
Washington 3, New York 2, and then Eagles 1.
Yeah, I mean that one's pretty. That
easy. One was pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
because I didn't have like the same grade I think for any of the teams.
Yeah. We get all right. Just to reiterate, guys, we both gave Dallas C+. Dane gave the Giants a B. I gave them a B+. We both gave the Eagles A+, and we both gave the Commanders B-.
Yeah. So we're pretty much in the ballpark, thought-wise, with the way that we interpret how these players are going to pan out in the NFL, the way that they drafted. Overall, we love covering the draft. Guys, if you've made it this far, we are almost at an hour and a half. Jake is going high roller status. He's smoking on a fake cigarette. He's just being his goofy self. Guys, thank you so much. We appreciate any bits of support we can get. Like, comment, subscribe, share us if you want, comment on our videos. Let us know what you think if you're a fan of these teams, why we're wrong in our opinions. We're always open for criticism as long as it's constructive. You know, we don't want to just hear you say, oh, we're fucking stupid. Give us something to debate about. Like, if you just say that, tell us why we're stupid or why this player is better than we interpreted. So, guys, like, comment, subscribe, follow us on our Instagram at Cannonballs with a Z_podcast. Jake, do you have anything to add?
Also, thank you guys. Our last video made it to 40 something views, and that is now our second highest view on YouTube.
Hey, it is a small grind. It is a small grind, but you know, a lot of people get excited once they reach like a certain amount of subscribers. Jake and I are just fighting for these views as of right now. And so we'll take anything that we can get. You know, once we get to that 100 mark, you know, we'll be a little bit more excited. I know that hopefully the subscribers start coming in. Hopefully you guys share us. Hopefully we're giving decent content. You know, there's obviously things we can improve on. I don't even know if anyone's still listening at this point. I don't know if I'd listen to an hour and a half, but Jake, close us out, man. We're just rambling now.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening. And as always, peace.